And we're going to kick off by talking about trans women in female sports. A new poll, a survey of 5,000 people by the More in Common think tank, has revealed that the majority, 57%, do not feel that trans women should be allowed to compete in women's sport. 19% of Brits did think that, so it still divides the room, but the significant majority are going for what I would suggest is the common sense decision, and that is that trans women should not be able to compete against what they like to call cis women, women who are biologically female from the moment they're born. That's what people don't want to see. Some people do, but the majority don't. Let's talk to the founder of Standing for Women, Kellie-Jay Keane. Good afternoon, Kellie-Jay.
Hi, good afternoon, Kevin.
This is encouraging, isn't it? Most people are on your side.
Oh, of course they are. I mean, really, it all comes down to language again, doesn't it? I mean, even in your introduction, you had to use the word cis women.
I don't say that. I don't say that easily. It does kind of get caught in my throat a bit. But you know what I'm trying to say.
I absolutely do. Look, and these are the rules that you are governed by as a radio broadcaster, I'm sure. But isn't it nuts that we have to now use different words for the word woman in order to make people understand what we're talking about? And the fact that, what we're really talking about is men in women's sports. We might call them something else, but essentially it's men in women's sports. And I think most people understand that there is an unfair physical advantage to men versus women when it comes to stamina and strength and all the other attributes required for sport.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Sharon Davis, the former Olympic swimmer, several times on this, and she says if we allow this to happen, if we allow trans women to compete in women's sports, that's the end of women's sports.
Well, of course it is. Look, if we just say to the lovely men listening to your show this afternoon, why don't all of you just rock up to your local women's sporting team and just join up, say you identify as women, and we'll see how quickly every single female-only club just collapses and buckles and loses every single game. It's preposterous. It's great for me and my organisation, which is Standing for Women, because what we would like to do is reveal the absurdity of this ideology in trying to pretend that we think men can be women. And for most people, sport is such a brilliant visual, just a clear-cut case of an unfair advantage and the physical differences between men and women, that it is a little bit of a gift. So I'm looking forward to more men taking women's podiums.
I mean, I know you don't even like the idea of trans women being referred to as women, but I don't care about that. As I always stress when I talk to you, as far as I'm concerned, live your life exactly how you want to live it. As long as you're not harming anyone else, go right ahead. I'm all for freedom of choice in these areas. But if it gets into the area of competitive sport, no matter how much you have your testosterone reduced, if you're a trans woman, you're still going to have more than biological women, and therefore you've got an unfair advantage. It's quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will remind you of the fact that
here we go.
I will remind you carefully and lovingly that when it comes to calling a man any sort of woman, we then have to have these sorts of discussions in which we then say why a certain subcategory of women, which I would just call them men, but which is why a certain subcategory of women is excluded from women's events, spaces, rights, etc. So I actually do think there's a harm. I am determined that one of these days I will convince you, but today I take it that is not the day. But yeah, it's just, we cannot have this language erasure when it comes to women, because that's why we're in this in the first place. It is the thin, fat, wedge end of the argument.
Well, you know, I'm right on your side. I feel it's very sexist that the word woman or women is constantly changed to people who menstruate, people, you know, with cervixes and so on. But you never hear it on the male side of the fence. You never hear men referred to as people with testicles. So it's the elimination of the word women in a sexist way, if you ask me, as opposed to the elimination of the word men. But I did think of you the other day. I wanted to get your comments on this. The head mistress, the head teacher of a school called Burgess Hill Girls said she no longer uses the word girls or girl, but reluctantly conceded that sometimes when talking to parents, she did have to resort to using the word daughters. Now, she's the head teacher of Burgess Hill Girls. That's what the school's called. And she doesn't use the word girls. I mean, this is insane.
Well, I guess it's a very good way of stopping anybody who cares about girls' education actually sending them to your school. It's just, look, this has been going on a long time. I think 2016 we first heard news stories about girls' schools in particular stopping to use the word girls. When my kids were still at primary school, they were stopping in the lunch, in the dining hall from using the word boys and girls. So this erasure has been going on for some time. I think the cowardice is just terrible. Why wouldn't somebody who believes in girls' education so much so that they work and have probably worked their way up in a girls' school to actually be the head of that school, then say to those girls that actually girl is kind of like a dirty word, and we will not use it anymore? What happened to empowerment of girls? Like, being a girl is a pretty wonderful thing. Being a woman is equally as magical. You know, we get to carry the babies of this world, which is a superpower. So to sort of diminish or demean girls by not using the word girl, I just think, lady, maybe it's time you found a different job.
Also, I do think what worries me about all this, Kellie-Jay, is this is the imposition of a political opinion. So this head teacher, this is her political opinion that she is imposing on young people in the formative years of their lives as a fact. You know, that it's a fact that we must not use the word girl or girls for whatever reason she thinks. And that's what worries me. It's adults assuming that they have the right to impose their views, their outlook on young and impressionable minds.
Yeah, I had a Facebook discussion with a teacher who was very proud to promote transgender ideology to her A-level students, and she was saying how accepting they were. And I said, well, I just don't believe when a school starts indoctrinating kids, which I think that is what this is, when they start indoctrinating kids into these political, very harmful ideologies, they really abandon their duty of care to those children. School is not for some sort of social project for teachers who maybe should have been campaigners. It's to learn. If we just concentrated on maths, English, a bit of history, some geography, we may actually have a much brighter workforce.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kellie-Jay, that's common sense, and you know that's not allowed in this country anymore. Great to talk to you as always. Thank you very much for your time.